Every legend starts somewhere, not with thunder, not with glory, but with a quiet moment and a boy looking at the sea. The waves crash softly against the wooden docks of Fusha village, a humble town at the edge of nowhere. Here, the sea stretches endlessly, glimmering like liquid glass under the morning sun. The air smells of salt and dreams, and a boy with a straw hat too big for his head watches it all with a fire in his eyes. His name: Monkey D. Luffy. He's no warrior, no noble blood, no chosen one. Just a kid with a grin so wide it looks like defiance, a boy who believes the horizon isn't the end, but the beginning of something greater. The sea that calls Fusha is small. A handful of houses, a tavern, and one dock that faces a sea too vast for most to imagine crossing. But to Luffy, this is the center of the universe. Every night, he listens to the old sailors tell stories of pirates, men who defy kings, who sail freely without bowing to anyone. They speak of Gold Roger, the pirate king, who conquered the Grand Line and left behind the greatest treasure in the world, the One Piece. When Roger was executed, his final words ignited an age of chaos and hope. My treasure? It's yours if you can find it. I left everything I gathered together in one place. Those words echoed across oceans, burning their way into the hearts of millions. And somewhere in a quiet village, a boy heard them, and his life was never the same. Shanks, the red-haired pirate. The bar door swings open one day, and everything changes. A group of pirates walks in, loud, laughing, full of life. Among them stands a man with bright red hair, a relaxed smile, and the calmness of someone who's seen the end of the world and laughed at it. Shanks. To the adults, he's trouble. To the children, he's magic. And to Luffy, he's everything he wants to be. Shanks treats him like a little brother, buys him food, tells him stories, teaches him what being a pirate really means. Not just fighting and treasure, but freedom, friendship, and laughter, even in the face of danger. But there's one thing Shanks tells him never to do. Don't go playing pirate until you're ready, kid. The sea isn't kind. Luffy pouts, insists he's already tough enough. I'll be pirate king one day, he shouts, and Shanks just laughs, ruffling his hair. It's in that laughter that Luffy's destiny begins. The Devil's Fruit. One afternoon, while Shanks' crew is celebrating another small adventure, Luffy sneaks into their storage room, hungry, curious, and bold as ever. He finds a strange fruit inside a chest. Purple, swirled like it's alive, pulsing faintly. Without hesitation, he takes a bite. It tastes awful, but in that single act, his fate twists forever. Moments later, when the crew finds him, the fruit is gone. The pirates freeze in disbelief. You didn't just eat that fruit, did you? Luffy tilts his head, still chewing. Yeah. Why? Panic erupts. Shanks grabs his shoulders, eyes wide. That was a devil fruit, kid. You'll never be able to swim again. The irony is cruel. The boy who dreams of the sea can never touch it again. But Shanks only sighs. He sees something in the boy's stubborn eyes, a light that won't go out. You're gonna be trouble, huh? The bandit and the hero. A few weeks later, chaos arrives. A bandit named Haguma storms the village, mocking Shanks and his crew for being weak pirates who only drink. Luffy, too young to know fear, stands up to him. Don't insult Shanks, he yells, but his courage earns him only pain. The bandit grabs him and drags him away. He throws Luffy into the sea, a death sentence now that he can't swim. As Luffy sinks, water closing around him, a dark shadow moves beneath the surface, a sea king, a monstrous serpent of the deep. Shanks dives in. No hesitation. When he surfaces, Luffy is in his arms, trembling, alive, but Shanks' left arm is gone. The boy sobs, horrified. But Shanks only smiles. It's just an arm. You're safe, and that's what matters. Then, as they reach the shore, Shanks places his straw hat on Luffy's head. This is my treasure. Promise me one thing, Luffy, return it when you've become a great pirate. The wind blows, the waves rise, and in that moment, a legend is born. The day of departure years pass. Luffy grows stronger, wilder, and more determined. He trains, learns to fight, and never once forgets his promise. The village watches him with a mix of fear and pride. They see a boy who talks to the sea as if it were alive, who believes in a dream so big it frightens even grown men. And one morning, when the sky glows gold and blue, he stands on the same dock where Shanks once left. The straw hat shades his eyes. A small boat waits. I'm setting out, he shouts. I'll find the One Piece. I'll become the Pirate King. The villagers wave, half mocking, half in awe, as the boy rows out into the endless blue. The sea swallows his reflection, but his laughter echoes for miles. A dream cast into the sea, the narrator's voice softens. In that single act of defiance, the boy who couldn't swim challenged the world that told him no. Luffy's journey begins not with a fleet, not with gold, but with faith in himself, and in the idea that freedom is worth everything. He doesn't yet know of the powers waiting ahead, the cruel sea, the world government, or the storms of destiny that will test every inch of his heart. But for now, he sails toward the horizon, smiling. Because sometimes, the greatest adventures begin, not with power, but with a promise and a dream. The ocean is a mirror, it shows you what you truly are. Some see freedom. Others see fear. The waves stretch infinitely beneath a blazing sky. The boy with the straw hat, barely grown, barely trained, sails across the east blue in a tiny boat that looks like it shouldn't survive a storm. Yet somehow, it does. Because his spirit refuses to sink. The world has begun to forget the age of true pirates. The seas are ruled by marines, laws, and fear. But every now and then, a fool stands up, laughing against the wind, and reminds the world what it means to be free. That fool's name is Monkey D. Luffy. The first encounter, a pirate hunter in chains. The ocean is cruel, but it's never lonely. One day, Luffy drifts into a small marine outpost, a quiet place controlled by a pompous officer named Captain Morgan. There, chained to a post in the sun, is a man who looks more like a beast than a human. Roronoa Zoro. A pirate hunter, famous, feared, and starving to death. Luffy, instead of fearing him, smiles. Hey! You should join my crew. Zoro glares. I hunt pirates, not sail with them. But Luffy's grin never fades. You'll change your mind. And when Morgan's cruelty pushes Zoro to the edge, Luffy steps in, punches through a marine wall of authority and chaos, and declares war on the system, not for glory, but because someone had to. By sunset, Morgan is defeated. The Marines are left speechless. And Zoro, bound by honor and a strange admiration, kneels beside Luffy's tiny ship. Fine. I'll be your swordsman. But I'm not dying until I become the world's greatest. Then, Luffy replies, you'll just have to survive long enough to see me become Pirate King. The ocean gains its first ripple. The thief and the storm. The next island glows beneath the sun, peaceful on the surface, corrupt underneath. There, a young woman with fiery orange hair and sharper eyes moves like a ghost among thieves. Nami. She steals from pirates, tricking them with charm and intelligence, building a fortune for a reason no one knows. When she meets Luffy, she sees only another fool, a boy who'll die chasing impossible dreams. But as she watches him face impossible odds with laughter, something cracks in her. The town they reach, Orange Town, is under the thumb of a clownish terror, Buggy the Clown, a pirate whose laughter hides a deadly ability, the Chop Chop Fruit. In the chaos that follows, Luffy is captured, Nami is forced to make a choice, and Zoro bleeds in silence. Yet when the dust settles, Buggy is defeated, and Luffy doesn't claim the treasure. He simply grins at Nami and says, "You're good at stealing. You should steal the world with us." She laughs it off, but when Luffy sails away, she's already on board. The Straw Hat crew grows by one. The cook who fights for love. Their next stop, the Baratai, a floating restaurant ruled by chefs with knives sharper than their tempers. Here, they meet Sanji, a blonde cook who fights with his legs, not his hands, because hands are sacred for cooking. He dreams of finding the All Blue, a mythical sea where every fish from every ocean gathers. It's a cook's paradise, and everyone calls it a fantasy. When a pirate named Don Krieg attacks the Baratai, Sanji and Luffy fight side by side. Amid shattered wood, roaring flames, and blood on saltwater decks, Luffy yells through the chaos, "If you have a dream, then protect it, even if you're bleeding." Sanji stares at him, bruised, battered, but inspired. By dawn, Krieg's ship is wrecked, the restaurant stands barely afloat, and Sanji kneels before his old mentor Zeph, tears hidden in the smoke. "Thank you for feeding me when I was starving." Then he turns to Luffy. "I'll cook for you. But don't die before I see the All Blue." And so the ship sails again, a swordsman, a thief, a cook, and a boy with a dream too large for reason. Arlong's empire. The ocean grows darker as they near Kokoyasi village, Nami's home. It's paradise on the surface, but beneath it lies a wound that never healed. Arlong, a fishman pirate, rules the island with cruelty. Nami, we learn, has been working for him, stealing for years to buy her village's freedom. When Luffy discovers the truth, he doesn't ask for details. He just sees Nami crying, stabbing her arm in frustration, screaming, "I can't take it anymore." He places his straw hat on her head, the same hat Shanks once gave him. "Of course you can't do it alone. That's why I'm here." The Straw Hats march through Arlong Park, one by one. The fight that follows isn't just about strength, it's about reclaiming stolen hope. By the end, Arlong's empire falls, and the people of Kokoyasi cry tears of freedom. Nami looks at Luffy and says the words that make her truly part of the crew, "Let's go." A crew born from chaos. The East Blue, once called the weakest of the seas, now trembles with whispers of a boy who defeated Arlong, destroyed marine posts, and sails with a crew unlike any other. A swordsman who can't lose. A thief who steals for love. A cook who feeds his enemies. And a captain who never backs down. They sail in laughter, bickering every day, and yet, beneath it all, there's something sacred in their chaos. A family forming, piece by piece. They're still small, no grand ship, no fleet, no fame, but their bond is already unbreakable. And as the sun sets over the East Blue, the sea glows orange and endless. Luffy stands on the figurehead, hat tilted, eyes fixed on the horizon. Next stop, the Grand Line. The others groan, protest, argue, but they all smile. Because for the first time, they're not alone in their dreams. The Grand Line awaits. The narrator's tone deepens, calm, reverent, filled with the weight of coming destiny. The East Blue was the cradle. The Grand Line is the storm. Behind them lies a world they've already changed. Ahead of them lies the sea that swallowed legends whole, the same sea where Gold Roger was crowned, and where countless men vanished chasing his shadow. The Straw Hats sail toward it, laughing, not because they don't know what awaits them, but because they do. They are not ready. They are not strong enough. But they are together. And sometimes, that's enough to challenge the world. The deeper they sail, the darker the ocean becomes. Not because of the sea itself, but because of the truth buried beneath it. The Straw Hat pirates cross through the Twin Capes, where two colossal stone whales rise from the waves, guarding the entrance to a sea unlike any other. The Grand Line. A place of impossible islands, unpredictable weather, and mysteries older than the world government itself. Here, the map ends, and legend begins. The Grand Line opens. They meet a man named Crocus, the caretaker of the twin whales, who warns them gently, the Grand Line isn't a sea, it's a test. It gives everything, then takes it back. But Luffy just grins. Good. I like a challenge. As they sail onward, storms rise and vanish within minutes. One island burns in eternal summer, the next freezes in perpetual winter. The magnetic fields twist and pull their compass into madness. And yet, the Straw Hats adapt, laughter breaking through thunder, hope flickering in rain. Every day the sea tries to drown them. Every day they refuse. Alabasta, the desert kingdom. The first major storm of destiny begins when they meet Vivi, a princess disguised as a bounty hunter. Her kingdom, Alabasta, is dying, torn apart by rebellion and drought. At its center lies Baroque Works, a shadow organization led by one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Sir Crocodile. A hero in public. A monster in truth. The Straw Hats, without hesitation, throw themselves into the heart of the desert war. They face scorching heat, assassins, and hopeless odds, yet Luffy's laughter never fades. If her country's crying, then we'll stop the one making her cry. In the final battle beneath a dying sun, Luffy faces Crocodile, a man made of sand, untouchable, cold. 3 times he falls. 3 times he rises. And when he finally lands the blow that shatters the warlord's pride, it isn't power that wins, it's will. As Crocodile collapses into the sand, Vivi's tears fall like rain, the first in years. The people cheer. The rebellion ends. And once again, Luffy sails away quietly, leaving behind a country reborn. Heroes, he laughs. We're just pirates. Skypiea, the island in the sky beyond the clouds, lies a place no one believes exists, a sea above the sea, where white waters crash against floating islands. The Straw Hats reach Skypiea, chasing what everyone calls a fairy tale. They find a civilization untouched by the world below, ruled by a self-proclaimed god named Enel, who controls lightning itself. But beneath the beauty lies an ancient scar, 2 peoples divided by lies and time. Through their journey, the crew uncovers a forgotten story, an island that once reached for the sky and was punished for its faith. When Luffy stands before Enel, lightning cracking across his body, he laughs. You call yourself a god? Then you're not used to people punching you. With one final blow, a fist of determination against the heavens, he breaks Enel's illusion of divinity. The bell of Shandora rings again after 400 years, echoing across the sky. It's not just victory. It's history singing back to life. The world government's shadow by now, the Straw Hats have become more than pirates, they've become symbols. And symbols make the world nervous. The world government, an empire that rules over nations with quiet, invisible power, begins to take notice. Marine admirals whisper their name. Cipher pole agents move in secret. The bounty posters start stacking up, Luffy's smile plastered on wanted boards across continents. But the real danger is not the Marines. It's truth. Rumors spread of a forgotten century, 100 years erased from all history books. Of a weapon so powerful it could erase islands. Of a will of D that ties Luffy's name to the Pirate King's bloodline. The world fears what it cannot erase, the narrator whispers. And as the Straw Hats sail deeper, they realize they're no longer just chasing treasure, they're unraveling the strings that hold the world together. Enies lobby, declare war on the world. The crew's laughter fades when one of their own is taken. Nico Robin, the archaeologist who knows too much, hunted for the sin of wanting to read. The Straw Hats follow her all the way to Enies lobby, the island of justice, where the world government's flags fly over burning truth. In one of the most iconic moments in their journey, Luffy points toward the tower, where Robin is held captive. We're taking her back. And when Robin cries out through tears, I want to live, the entire world seems to pause. The Straw Hats don't hesitate. They burn the world government's flag, declaring war on the strongest force in existence, not for power, not for fame, but for a friend's right to live free. That night, Enies lobby falls. The world watches in disbelief. The Straw Hats vanish into the sea again, leaving behind a symbol the world will never forget. Freedom is worth any price. The calm before the storm as they rest aboard the Thousand Sunny, their new ship, the crew reflects. Each of them has found something in Luffy that no world could offer, a reason to keep dreaming, even when dreams seem foolish. But shadows stir. Admirals move. Warlords plot. The sea whispers of a coming storm, one that will change the balance of the entire world. For every island they save, another begins to fall. For every laugh they share, another secret surfaces. The Grand Line has shown them wonder. Now, it will show them truth. Beneath the waves, the narrator's voice lowers, soft, cinematic, heavy. The seas remember everything. They remember kings who lied, gods who fell, and children who dared to dream. Luffy doesn't yet understand the full weight of the symbol he's become. The Straw Hat is no longer just a promise. It's a message, one passed from generation to generation, whispering of a dawn that will one day come. And beneath the waves, in the ruins of ancient cities long forgotten, the truth waits. The Void Century, the ancient kingdom, the meaning of the will of D, all sleeping, watching. Because sooner or later, every dreamer must face the shadow behind the light. And the boy who smiled at the sea, is now sailing toward the darkness of history itself. Freedom is beautiful, but beauty has teeth. Every wave that lifts you will, one day, try to drown you. The world has changed. Posters carrying the smiling face of Monkey D. Luffy flutter through every harbor, pinned to walls by trembling hands. The name Straw Hat is no longer a rumor, it's a declaration. And declarations demand consequences. The sky falls, the battle at Marineford, the Age of Pirates, reignited by Roger's last words, now meets its reckoning. When the news spreads that Portgas D. Ace, Luffy's brother, has been captured for execution, the seas themselves seem to hold their breath. Ace, the fire that once laughed beside him on a cliff at dawn. Ace, who promised they'd both be free. Luffy's journey stops being adventure. It becomes rescue. They storm Impel Down, the prison of nightmares. Luffy breaks through levels that no one returns from: poison, beasts, despair, and walks out with legends who owe him their lives. But freedom is a fleeting guest. By the time he reaches Marineford, the Navy's might stands united. 3 admirals, 7 warlords, hundreds of ships, and at their center, a single platform where Ace kneels in chains. When the first cannon fires, the world splits open. The age of pirates dies today. And in reply, a roar rises from the sea itself, Whitebeard's fleet, carrying the man closest to Roger's throne. Lightning cracks, ice mountains rise, magma turns the ocean to steam. In that maelstrom of gods and monsters, a single voice cuts through: ACE. Luffy, barely alive, pushes through everything. His punches are weaker. His will is not. He reaches the platform, breaks the chains. For one radiant second, the brothers are free. Then the blade of fate descends. A flash of fire. A hole in the world. Ace falls. Thank you for loving me. He dies smiling. The silence after the battle, the sea is quiet. Too quiet. Bodies sink. Flags burn. Luffy wakes on an island he doesn't recognize, screaming Ace's name into the forest until his voice breaks. For the first time, he doesn't laugh. He doesn't smile. He only remembers. But even in grief, destiny whispers. He realizes something profound: he cannot reach the throne of freedom alone. He needs to be stronger. For his crew. For the promise of that straw hat. 2 years of shadows, the world calls it the time skip. For Luffy, it is rebirth. Under the mentorship of Silver's Rayleigh, the Dark King who once sailed with Gold. Roger, he learns to control the chaos inside him, Haki, the power of spirit itself. While the seas rage without him, each Straw Hat trains in secret corners of the world, Zoro among swordsmen who worship death. Nami chasing storms in the sky. Sanji surviving on an island ruled by chefs and killers. Usopp learning courage in the jungle. Chopper studying medicine of monsters. Robin unearthing ruins the world forgot. 2 years later, the dawn returns, a stronger, wiser, scarred crew standing again upon the deck of the Thousand Sunny. They laugh. They argue. They set sail once more. We're not done yet. Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, chains of deceit. The Grand Line no longer hides its cruelty. The crew faces Caesar Clown, a scientist playing God with children's lives, and later Doflamingo, the puppet master of nations. In Dressrosa, toys cry in silence while people forget they ever existed, a kingdom enslaved by invisible strings. When Luffy tears those strings apart, the world cheers, but the government does not. Because every victory of the Straw Hats exposes another truth: the so-called order of the world is built on slavery, lies, and fear. And every time they free one island, 10 more chains appear elsewhere. Freedom, Luffy begins to understand, is endless war. The Yonko, gods of the sea beyond the chaos, for giants rule the new world: Kaido, Big Mom, Blackbeard, and Shanks. Each one is a mountain standing between dream and reality. The Straw Hats choose to climb anyway. In Whole Cake Island, they challenge Big Mom's empire to rescue a friend. Cakes burn, heavens split, and Sanji's tears fall for a family that tried to sell him. When they escape, it's not triumph, it's survival. And in Wano, the curtain rises on a country enslaved by iron and smoke. Samurai hide their names, children starve, and the symbol of hope is a crescent moon etched in secret. Luffy becomes the spark. The rebellion ignites. The war that follows shakes the world, dragons against swordsmen, emperors against a boy with a straw hat. In the end, Kaido falls through the clouds, defeated not just by fists, but by an idea that the strong do not own the sky. The true price. The narrator's tone slows, heavy like the tide before a storm. Every time freedom wins, someone pays the price. Islands burn. Friends bleed. Even victories leave scars. The world government brands Luffy as one of the 4 emperors. It sounds glorious, but it means every admiral, every assassin, every shadow now sails for his head. He remembers Shanks' laughter, Ace's final smile, the promise made on a sunny dock years ago. And he wonders, just for a moment, how many more dreams must die for his to live. But then the wind shifts. The sea glitters. And he smiles again. If I stop now, everything they died for disappears. The captain's resolve. Night falls over the sunny. The crew eats, laughs, sings. Luffy sits quietly at the bow, hat pulled low, the stars reflecting in his eyes. He knows what lies ahead, the final islands, the ancient truths, the dawn Roger once sought. He feels it in his blood, the will of D, burning like a hidden sun. The ocean hums below, endless and unforgiving. But for the boy who once couldn't swim, it has become home. Freedom isn't free, the narrator murmurs. But neither is obedience. Between them, men must choose what kind of death they're willing to live for. And Monkey D. Luffy, the fool, the dreamer, the pirate who never learned to fear, has already made his choice. The boy who dreamed beyond the horizon. There was once a boy who looked at the sea and saw not fear, but freedom. In the small, wind-kissed village of Fusha, the waves whispered to him stories of monsters, kings, and a man who conquered the entire world. His name was Monkey D. Luffy, and his dream was as simple as it was impossible, to find the One Piece and become the king of the pirates. But dreams like these don't begin with power. They begin with courage and a single straw hat. Luffy's childhood was defined by chaos and laughter. He idolized a pirate named Red-Haired Shanks, a man whose smile could calm storms and whose crew carried the scent of faraway lands. To Luffy, Shanks wasn't just a pirate, he was freedom made flesh. When bandits humiliated Shanks, Luffy couldn't understand why the pirate didn't fight back. But when Luffy's life was threatened, Shanks did. He paid for that moment with his arm and a smile that said, "It's just an arm. You're safe, aren't you?" That moment branded itself into Luffy's soul. When Shanks placed his straw hat on Luffy's head, he didn't just give him a symbol, he gave him a destiny. "Promise me," Shanks said, "you'll return this hat once you've become a great pirate." From that day, the boy who ate the gum-gum fruit, turning his body into rubber, vowed to stretch his dream beyond the horizon. Years later, as the sea breeze howled and the sails unfurled, a small boat drifted into the endless blue. On it stood that same boy, older, braver, smiling against the storm. Luffy had no map, no crew, and no fear. Because the ocean doesn't need instructions, only belief. And so, the legend began. The ocean that never ends. The sea is a living thing. It tests, it punishes, it reveals. Luffy's journey wasn't about conquering the ocean, it was about surviving it. But the ocean has a strange rule: no one survives alone. The first to join him was a thief named Nami, who stole maps and secrets instead of gold. Then came Zoro, a swordsman bound by honor and haunted by loss. Usopp, a liar who dreamed of being brave. Sanji, a cook who fought like fire. Chopper, a reindeer who wanted to be human. Each of them carried scars. But together, they became something no storm could break, a crew. Their ship, the Going Merry, wasn't just wood and sail. It was home. Each island they visited revealed a new truth about the world, a government that enslaved its people, a navy that worshipped order over justice, and pirates who weren't villains, but survivors of that cruel balance. Their laughter was rebellion. When they fought Arlong, Nami's tormentor, they didn't just win a battle, they freed a soul. When they challenged Crocodile in Alabasta, they defied an empire. Every adventure carved them deeper into legend, not because they sought glory, but because they never stopped believing in each other. They were pirates, yes. But more than that, they were free. Shadows beneath the waves, but freedom comes with a price. As they sailed deeper into the Grand Line, the tone of their journey changed. Laughter gave way to whispers. The sea grew darker. The world government's shadow stretched longer. They learned of the Void Century, a forbidden era erased from history. They heard the name D, spoken in fear and awe, the mark of those who challenge the gods. And behind it all loomed the world government, a force that shaped the entire world by controlling what people were allowed to remember. When Luffy's brother, Portgas D. Ace, entered the story, the sea seemed to pause. Ace was fire itself, passionate, loyal, and marked by the same D that haunted Luffy's fate. The brothers laughed together one last time before the world took notice. The Navy called it justice. The pirates called it war. But to Luffy, it was personal. The price of freedom, the paramount war at Marineford, was not just a clash of fleets, it was the death of innocence. When Ace was captured, the entire pirate world trembled. The sea boiled under cannon fire, smoke blotted the sun, and amidst the chaos, stood Luffy, broken, bleeding, screaming his brother's name. He fought the strongest men alive, defied the Navy's might, and pushed his body past death itself. But even heroes fall. Ace died in his arms, smiling, thanking Luffy for loving him. Tell my friends, thank you, for loving me. That moment shattered Luffy's world. Freedom suddenly felt hollow. The dream of becoming Pirate King now carried the weight of loss. But in the quiet that followed, as the ocean calmed and the stars returned, Luffy realized something. Dreams only die when you stop chasing them. He trained. He rebuilt. He returned to the sea with fire in his eyes. And the Straw Hat crew, scattered but unbroken, came back together stronger than ever. The dawn of the Pirate King years passed. Legends rose and fell. The seas bled. But Luffy's flag still flew, not because he conquered others, but because he never bent the knee. The final seas, the new world, were unlike any before. There, emperors ruled. There, dreams met destiny. The Yonko, the great pirate lords, tested Luffy's resolve. The world government tried to erase him. And yet, every island he liberated became a spark. A spark of revolution. As the pieces of the One Piece mystery drew closer, whispers filled the sea, of Joy Boy, of an ancient promise, of a dawn that would change the world. When the storm finally came, it wasn't just ships that clashed, it was centuries of lies versus the will of freedom. In that storm, under lightning and chaos, stood the boy from Fusha village, now a man. Still smiling. Still dreaming. Still free. The straw hat fluttered one last time against the wind. And whether he found the One Piece or became it, the world finally understood. The true treasure was never gold. It was the freedom to chase a dream.